everyone, welcome to another online lesson. So today, it's Arts Week, isn't it, this week? So Arts Week, this week is all about the movies, and what I thought I'd do is I thought we'd look at habitats, and I thought we'd think about the different types of movies they are and where they're set. So a bit of science and a bit of Arts Week as well. So this movie is set somewhere that's very hot. And this movie is set somewhere that has maybe special plants. I'm not telling you which one it is yet. This movie, they're called westerns. So westerns are normally set, does anyone know, in what type of place? So just pause there and have a think. Right, so westerns are set in places called a desert. Does anyone know which one of my plants you would find in a desert? Why don't you have a think? Right, so actually this plant you would find in a desert. Well, not this one exactly, because Miss McCorkle is going to be super proud of me. I made this myself. But this is a special plant that lives in the desert. Now, it's specially adapted to live in the desert. Now, I've already said deserts are very, very, very hot. And I want you to think what else you know about deserts as habitats. What else are they like? So pause here and have a little bit of a think. Deserts, as well as being incredibly hot, they're also very, very dry. So they get very, very little rain at all. And what that means is the plants and even the animals that live there have a real challenge to live there. So they need to be specially adapted, so have some special skills, so they can live in a desert. So they're dry, they're very hot. Probably as well I'd expect them to be quite sandy too. Now, not always, there are different types of deserts, but we're not going into that today. We're going into deserts that are hot today. So, this plant, hoping some of my people might know the name of it. Have a think now, do you know the name of this type of plant? Looks very unusual, doesn't it? So it's a cactus, and cactuses have special adaptations to mean that they can survive in the desert, because very, very few plants live in the desert, but cactuses do. And today we're going to learn about plants that live in desert habitats, and we're also going to think about, and you're going to do me some work, a challenge on animals that also live in these habitats. So animals and plants that live in different habitats will be specially adapted so they can live there. So the habitat I've chosen today is a desert, and I'm going to talk to you about how a cactus is adapted to live there before I set you your challenge for today. So cactuses have some very, very special adaptations, and maybe you might already be aware of those. So what's different from a cactus than maybe a plant that you might find in England or in other countries? So they are adapted to live and survive in their specific habitat. So I've drawn a beautiful picture here of a cactus. And one of a cactus's adaptations is that instead of leaves, a cactus has spines or spikes. And there's a reason for that. Plants that are in different countries will have leaves, and what leaves do is help them to photosynthesize, but leaves as well can be a problem because you can lose water from a leaf. Well, this plant doesn't have leaves, does it? And what that means is it won't lose water, and that's really, really, really important. I mean, spines are also come in handy too, because imagine if you're an animal, and you're a little bit peckish. Those spines, if you're a plant, are going to come in really handy, because who's going to want to eat something that's got spikes and spines on it? So really handy adaptation. Another way that they are adapted is they have incredibly thick, waxy skin. And what that thick, waxy skin helps them to do is it prevents water loss, because water will be lost from the leaves. If it hasn't got leaves, water could be lost from the skin because of that really, really hot, intense heat. So that thick, waxy skin helps to prevent that water loss, which is really important because deserts are dry. One of the other adaptations, and I think this is one of the most interesting about cactuses, is their roots. So roots are in plants, and what they help them to do is to get water out of the soil. Now, it doesn't rain very often in a desert, and that means that the roots of something like a cactus are very much on the surface, so they don't go very deep underground at all. And that's because when it does rain, that cactus needs to get as much of that water as it can. So those roots stay on the surface, or very, 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 not very deep below the surface. So their roots are quite shallow, and that's an important adaptation. What that means is they're actually quite easy to push over a cactus. Not that you'd want to touch one, but if you did, then you'd be able to push it over quite easily. So those are the special adaptations of a plant that lives in the desert. Now, this is what I'd like you to do today. Your challenge is to find out some names of some animals that live in the desert. You could also try, why don't you make a desert habitat? You could try to make it out of things that you've got in the home. Maybe draw a picture. And you could show how that habitat is special. Now, for the big challenge, if you're up for it, I'd be really interested to hear about an animal that's adapted. And what you could do is you could draw a picture of the animal like I've drawn my cactus, and what you could do is pop on its special adaptations. Now really on these I should have put my becauses, shouldn't I? So maybe you could add the whys. So thick waxy skin to stop water loss, shallow roots to help the plant get water when it rains. So it'd be fantastic if you did this for an animal. And if you do, why not send it over to the email address at school for all those YouTubers, and maybe you could be YouTuber of the week. So thank you, and I will see you all again next week. Well done, guys. Bye.